Yes, people. What's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream and your daily transfer update. As always with Chelsea, there's plenty to get stuck into today. We've got links to Jeremy Doku, who Ren apparently value at 60 million euros. The Barcola links and the Brennan Johnson links aren't going away either. Lewis Hall has joined Newcastle on loan for the season with an obligation to buy for £28 million with 7 million in performance-related add-ons, as well as a sell-on clause included there for Chelsea as well. Pochettino's confirmed that Reece James will be out for a few weeks, so it's a bit vague, but perhaps slightly better than first feared on the Reece James news. And there's loads of other stuff to get into as always. So make sure, guys, you smash the likes. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We're about 150 away from 6K now, people. So make sure you subscribe, hit the subscribe button, smash the likes. And I'm delighted to be joined by Pys, mate. Thank you for coming as always. It's greatly appreciated, bro. Let's start with the Reece James news quickly then. Obviously, yesterday it was confirmed that he'd had suffered a hamstring injury. Pochettino confirming in the press conference today that he's going to be out for a few weeks, but the good thing is it's not a big issue. Now, obviously, the club are being a little bit, not shady, but they're not releasing all the information. Maybe they're waiting for another scan or something along those lines, but it would appear this might be better than first thought, potentially. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Because obviously it's not ideal and it's becoming a recurring theme for Reece at this point in time.
Yeah, it is. It's extremely annoying, especially because he did it in training as well. Yeah, good to be back on, by the way. But yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because we don't know how long he's going to be out for. Like you said, a few weeks could be a month, could be 3 weeks, could be 6 weeks, could be 7 weeks. So we don't really know. But I'm sure we'll get a definitive timescale soon. Perhaps needs to have 2 scans. Which in some cases is actually worse because you want to really find out after the first scan. But to be fair, Poch did say it's not that big, so yeah, it should be all right.
Yeah, it should be fine. And I suppose at least finally now with having us signed another right back in Malagusto, this whilst is a massive blow because he's captain and just personally for him it's not great. And Reece is one of our best players. I suppose with the fact that Gusto's here, it doesn't matter as much as it would have done in the previous seasons. But I mean, how concerned are you for Reece just in general, mate? Because this is now, I think I've seen that over the last 3 seasons, he's missed 57 games. I think was the stat. How concerned are you about his injury record at this point in time? Obviously, I'm not talking about selling him or anything ridiculous like that, but we need to get to the bottom of this because this is clearly a massive issue.
Yeah, it is. The Gusto signing might actually end up being our most important signing in the Bowley era. It really might at this stage because I feel like we got Gusto for a really good price, and James is always injured, and I feel for him as well because how mentally tough must it be to literally start a new season. You're not even playing 2 games a week this year, and you're injured in training after the first game week. It must be an absolute nightmare. But
he played 75 minutes in that game as well. It wasn't even a full 90 in that first game. Yeah.
Again, I'm not blaming it on Poch, but one of my worries, and I did say when we was in talks with him, was, his training sessions and just him as a manager in general, very, very, relentless in training. They do a lot of running, and I was expecting muscle injuries. I think Chalobah's injured as well. So,
yeah.
These are stories that we've heard obviously from ex-players as well, like Ricky Lambert at Southampton, at Spurs. I think Victor Wanyama said the same thing when he was on Alex Goldberg's podcast. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately we can't expect muscle injuries with all this running and that type of stuff. But at the same time, this has been prevalent with Reece now for ages. He's had hamstring injuries. He's had other injuries. So it'd be nice just to, a lot of fans just saying, "Oh, just go and get a surgery." But at the end of the day, if he's not being advised to have a surgery, he's not the medical expert. He's not going to go and have a surgery if people are advising him not to. It's not needed. So yeah, it's very, very strange.
It is strange. You know what I find strange as well? Just not necessarily of Reece per se, but with the injuries we seem to be picking up, they're not just obviously like picking up knocks is part and parcel of being a footballer, and all players are going to get injured and stuff. But it seems with us at the moment, not only is it key players, but every injury that we seem to suffer, it seems to be long term. Like, there's none of these. Oh, he's out for a week. He's going to miss a couple of games. These are like multiple months we're talking about in most cases. I don't understand why we're picking up such long-term injuries and seemingly at a frequent basis. I mean, mate, do you think we've looked into this as a club over the summer? You know, we've obviously spent a lot of money on playing personnel, but I mean, from what you've heard, or do you know anything? Have we like revamped the medical department? Have we made some changes there? Because clearly something is not right at all.
I mean, yeah, we definitely have made the medical changes. I forget the names, but we also I saw a thing the other day. We hired a guy from Benfica, I think Nick Chad from Benfica. I think he worked at Man City as well as like head of like performance or whatever. And then he reports into the guy that we got from the FA recently,
Oh yeah.
Cavagna or something. Is it Price? I don't know, but
I'm
one.
not sure his
So we
name. I know what you
yeah,
mean. Yeah.
we made two changes there in medical department. But I don't think they're actual doctors. Like we hired I think the Irish guy was it Fergal Kerrin or something a few
Yeah.
months ago. We also hired the guy back from Spurs who used to work
Yeah.
here. So we definitely have made changes. But look, I mean, it's just like it, at this point, it doesn't really like it doesn't surprise me anymore. It's like, oh, it's another injury, just move on. Like with Reece, and it's
You're
like,
just expecting it.
yeah,
Like,
you just expect it. Like I'm half expecting Caicedo to get injured, bro. Like it's generally, honestly, like it's just so annoying. Every time we sign a player, it's always our best players as well that get injured. Obviously, you don't want any player to get injured, but it just happens to be always our best ones. You know, the ones that are in the starting 11 that make the difference. You know, like Nkunku. You see the game we played against Liverpool. He would have had
he
it.
would have been perfect. He would have
He
been
would have had
perfect.
2 or 3 chances to score easily. So yeah, it's just incredibly frustrating. And you've heard Poch speak about like how we might need to adapt as a team now and Kunku's out and puts more pressure on the directors to go and get players in the market. And it's just a bit of a mess. There's always something going on with Chelsea. You know, it's much more calmer, but it's still a mess. There's still stuff that needs to get done, and there's still lingering things that could be much better.
Yeah, no, mate, I absolutely agree. I mean, at this point with Reece, I'm kind of like you watch him play, and you're not sort of thinking, oh, you're just waiting for him to get injured. You know it's going to happen. You're just waiting for that moment it's going to happen, and that's not a good position for the club to be in. It's not a good position for Reece to be in, and it's certainly not a good position for us to be in as fans. I mean, just lastly on this, mate, a lot of people, I mean, obviously it's easy to say after this has happened, but a lot of people saying, oh, we shouldn't have given him the captaincy because he's never fit and you need a captain to be available for the vast majority of the time and whatnot. Do you still believe that, I mean, I know you weren't so sure on Reece being the right choice anyway, when you got the likes of Thiago Silva and people here. Obviously, of course, you don't need to wear the armband to be a leader around the place, but do you think Reece's injury issues highlight maybe that he potentially shouldn't have been captain?
Yeah, I do agree. I think I always want to snap back at rival fans, but I remember, the tweet he posted, about the new captain, and on the first game week, it was like the rival
New
fans
era
were,
loading or something, and
yeah,
then
the rival fans were like, well, who's actually going to be the captain then, sort of thing, and it's just
well, it's basically Chilwell, isn't it?
it's so frustrating, man. Yeah, I love Reece, and I was so glad to see him get captain, but personally, I think it should have been someone else. Personally, just until Reece sort of one grew into the role, but two, did got a little bit more. I don't even want to say like fitter because he is fit. It's just like like we're not medical experts. We don't know what's causing this. It's not because he's unfit. It's just I don't know his muscles or whatever. I'm not sure. Maybe he has weakness there. I don't know, but yeah, it's frustrating one way or the other.
No, absolutely is. I mean, hopefully he's not out for too long, but thank God we've got Gusto. And yeah, he had a good preseason and should be more than capable to step up and play in the next few games. So yeah, I think that, as you said, that's one of our most important signings that we've made out of all the signings we've made under Bowley and Clearlake. But let's talk about someone who has left the club now. And when this news came out sort of a couple of days ago, it divided opinion quite a lot. A lot of people not happy about it. But Lewis Hall has now finally completed his move to Newcastle United. Loan deal with a mandatory buy option, £35 million total fee. So it's going to be 28 million plus 7 million in performance related add-ons. And Chelsea have got a sell-on clause. Not sure what percentage sell-on clause it is. Eddie Howe saying it's going to be Newcastle's final signing. So Newcastle have now got Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento, two former Chelsea fullbacks. Mate, where do you stand on this? Because ultimately, we're big fans. We're big fans of the business that's been done this summer, and there were going to have to be casualties of that business and that spending. Because you can't spend at the rate we're spending and not have to make some difficult decisions and some tough decisions to trim the squad down as well. I suppose the warning signs were there in pre-season where he barely played at all. You then got the Cucurella issue, which obviously he's not done particularly well last season, but he's a big money signing and it's very hard to get rid of him, which is being proven. Maybe Lewis Hall wants to play in midfield. There's no room, there's nowhere to play in midfield at Chelsea. Left back is blocked with Chilwell and Cucurella. Obviously, you could argue, he's better than Cucurella, but it's difficult to Chelsea from a club perspective. I suppose don't want to have Cucurella, an expensive asset, sat on the bench not doing anything. So, I mean, mate, where do you stand on this? I mean, ultimately, I'm disappointed he's gone. Of course, he's a very talented youngster, but I don't think it's the end of the world necessarily. How do you view this?
I was fuming with this, to be honest with you. Especially with a loan and obligation, it's like I know Clear Lake and that are friends with the Newcastle owners. We send them be together at Stamford Bridge and stuff like that when we played them. But this just stinks of helping them out with FFP. It stinks of helping a top four rival out because that's what they are, and it stinks of like just always falling back to academy players for pure profit. And it's just I wish we could get to a time where this doesn't have to happen and that these guys could actually stay in the squad and we don't mess up so many transfers that we can actually sell these other guys that underperform, the guys on bigger wages when shit gets tough, because we can't sell Sterling, we can't sell Cucurella. The only reason we sold Koulibaly and Mendy is because Saudi Arabia came.
Yeah. There was no takers for them. There were no takers for them.
Lukaku hasn't gone yet, so these are the only reasons why some of those guys have gone. Kante left on a free. Jorginho we got lucky with, to be fair, because Arteta wanted him. Fair enough. But again, I do think that was a lucky sale. Just right timing for what Arsenal wanted in that window. But yeah, this Lewis Hall. I mean, honestly, I can't believe it, especially after he supposedly agreed a new contract.
Did he sign it? Because I'm seeing mixed things. I know it was agreed. Did he definitely sign it?
I don't know, but if he did, that's outrageous. I'm not too sure.
Because there was no confirmation from the club that he'd signed it.
No,
I'm not saying he didn't sign it because we don't really know, but there wasn't anything on the website saying he'd signed it.
I mean, Fab says after signing new deal, he would have probably said after agreeing new deal. So, I'm not happy with this. He was one of my favorite players, honestly, last season, and just overall, I think he can. If he plays left back, I think he can, become one of the best left backs in the world. I truly believe that. He's only 18, and he already performed perfectly fine for us, Chelsea first team. So,
I mean, do you think
if he turns into a midfielder, I'm less bothered. But
yeah. I mean, to be fair, he is a midfielder. That's what he played in obviously in the youth teams and that. And obviously with injuries, he was shoehorned in to play at left back for the first team. He done very well there. The one time he did start in midfield, I think last season at Anfield away to Liverpool, he didn't do the best. The occasion got the better of him, but you expect that. He's 18 years old. He's played very few senior games. I think he's played 12 senior games in total, which is not many. So it's look, I think it's one of them where we're not really going to know how much of a mistake it is for a few years until he starts to reach his development. But what I would say is that we have been down this road before with Chelsea, where we've sold a lot of academy players in the past. And yeah, ideally, you don't want to be constantly selling academy players. But at the same time, the role of the academy is twofold. It's to produce good enough players for the first team, and it's to make a profit as well. And that is what it will be used for. Also, it's unfortunate for us that Cobham produces so many good players that they're sought after by other clubs and they represent pure profit on the books as well. So it is often a lot easier to get rid of these younger players because there's more suitors for them. And then it's more money into the accounts for us because it hasn't cost us anything to get them. But at the same time, mate, what I would say is, though, when you look back at it, of all the academy players we've sold, at this point, and I'm not counting Musiala or anything like that because we didn't really sell him. He wanted to go back to Germany. There wasn't really much we could do about it. I don't really count Declan Rice as a sell when you're talking about 14-year-old kids. But in actual players we've sold for money from the academy, do we actually look back now and regret any of those as a mistake? I don't think we do. Tomori at the time, I was fuming about it, but in hindsight, we won the Champions League 6 months later, and now look at our centre-back options there. Mark Guehi, again, another one where we don't really regret that. Time will tell on Mason Mount, but I think right now we're probably not going to regret that either. There's a lot of players we've sold that actually we haven't really regretted selling them from the academy. I mean, would you agree with that? I can't think of one where we've actually regretted selling an academy player and thinking, shit, we should never have done that.
No, not really. No, I don't think so. Obviously you can go back and look at like Musiala and stuff.
Musiala, yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of like actual sale for decent money as well, I think Gurhi's upped his value, but we don't regret that. We've got fantastic centre backs. I wouldn't say Tammy, to be honest with you. I wouldn't say, maybe Mount, we'll see, but I don't even think Mount now we've got this midfield, to be honest with you. I would tend to agree with you on that, perhaps.
So maybe it's not as big a disaster as people think it might. But I think a lot of the outrage is, of course, there's other assets that we could have sold before, but maybe there's not as much interest in. I know there's interest in Gallagher, there's interest in Chalobah, etc., and things like that. But do you think potentially, mate, that Chalobah's injury has changed the thinking, and maybe with the Reece James injury as well, that Chalobah could now be the backup for Gusto, obviously, when he's fit again? Do you think the Chalobah injuries changed anything in the Lewis Hall situation?
So you mean Chalobah now stays, or what?
Yeah, as in, like, if Chalobah hadn't got injured, do you still think Hall goes?
Yeah, I feel like this was a thing where either the money was too good to turn down, or it was like, shit, we just spent 170 million on midfield. We need sales quickly. Who can we sell for decent money? Oh, look, Lewis Hall. So,
Yeah.
I argued on Twitter that if we didn't sign Lavia, I'm not too sure if we would have been in such a mad rush. But that like extra 55, 60 mil, just, I don't know. It's a lot of money, man. Like on two midfielders. So, yeah.
It is a lot of money. I mean, obviously, as I said, only time will tell whether we're going to regret this or not. But right now, it's decent money. And I suppose because he's on loan, he can't play against us this season, can he?
No, yeah, no, he can't. That's
so I suppose from that perspective, it's not a complete disaster. Just on the other academy lads, briefly, mate. Do you think Chalobah will still be sold? Obviously, he's out for around a month with a hamstring injury. Do you think with Reece and not knowing how long he's out for, do you think Chalobah could end up staying till January potentially?
Yeah. If he's still injured when the window closes, or very close to, then I think. Actually, I'm not even going to say that because, like, we nearly signed Elise when he was injured.
Yeah.
So.
We were happy to sign Adams as well, who was injured.
Yeah, I think he could still. I think he could still be sold because it's not like he's out for ages. Like, mate, I think it's just a little like hamstring issue, maybe the same as Reece's. But
yeah, it's about.
I feel like it's not like if he was out for like 2-3 months, then yeah, he would 100% be staying. But I think he'll go because he'll want to play and he won't want to be stuck at Chelsea this season where. He's not going to play. He's not going to play at all, is he? Sassy, Silva, Buddy Shill.
He's last choice, and it's not a disrespect on his playing ability because he's a good player. It's just everyone else we've got is better than him. So unfortunately, he is bottom of the pile in terms of centre back picks. So we are going to have to sell him. I don't know how much money we'll get for him. I don't think we'll get as much money as we want from him. But yeah, let's wait and see what happens. Ultimately, Lewis Hall is gone. We're not going to know really for a couple of years at least whether that was a mistake or not. So we're going to have to wait and see. But that's another player out the door. And ultimately, some tough decisions are going to have to be made because we still do have too many players on the books. But let's move into the attacking options then, because obviously the Elise deal fell through. We've got other targets there. Jeremy Doku is the latest one today. We had Bradley Barcola yesterday, along with Brennan Johnson. Before we dive into that, guys, keep smashing the likes, people. There's 138 of you in here, only 50 likes. Guys, that's poor. We need to get these likes up to at least 100 people. So stop freeloading the content. Make sure you smash a like. It takes seconds, and the likes are really important. It does really help out, guys. So make sure you smash that like button, and let's get this to at least 100 likes minimum, guys. And also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, people, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. It's free. It takes seconds. We're racing along towards 6K now. We're about 150 odd away. Let's get as many subscribers as we can and get towards that 6K mark as quickly as possible. So if you're locked in now and you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button, guys. It is greatly appreciated. Mate, let's dive into the news then on the attacking players. Obviously, Elise fell through. A bit of a strange set of circumstances there. I don't know we'll ever truly get to the bottom of it, but it's a problem because we're not getting Elise, who would have been a good player for us and probably the best on the market, I would say, for Chelsea in that position. But let's move on to the Doku stuff. Then obviously we know that City have been looking at him this summer, and Fabrizio saying on today that Man City suspects there could be another club in the race for Doku. They don't want a bidding war. Some sources suspect it is Chelsea, but let's see. At the moment, it's just a rumour. We know the Elise deal collapsed. Let's see if Chelsea really decide for Doku. And then L'Equipe reporting that Rennes are going to want around 60 million euros for him. What are your thoughts on Doku? He's a little bit older than say Barcola and Brennan Johnson. A bit more experienced. He's a Belgian international. I think he's around 25 years of age. He's quick. He's rapid. He's unpredictable. I think it could be a good option for the club. What are your thoughts on this deal? And do you think it's someone that we could end up pursuing?
For me personally, he's not really someone that we need. I feel like we kind of already have his profile in Madueke. I feel like we need more of a goal threat. You know, we already have the dribbler, the quick winger that can, take people on and that type of thing. I feel like we need, someone more like a Kudus that can get us goals. Obviously, it looks like he's going to West Ham, but yeah, I also think his injury history is a bit dodgy.
Oh, he fit in perfectly then.
Yeah, very exciting player, but especially for the price, that would be like 50 million pounds. For me personally, no, I feel like we need more of a goal threat. Unless we buy him and a striker, I'm not sure. Our team is very exciting, but the one thing I do worry about lack of goals. I think we've got a lot of flair. I think we've got creativity. In certain areas, but putting the whole load on Jackson to score, 15, 20 goals and then hoping others chip in is extreme amount of pressure. I know we got Broja, but we need people that can also like create out of nothing. Like what we're gonna do, just rely on Enzo for the whole season. Like we need someone else that can create and yeah, for me, not really the profile that we need right now.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Like I like him, but isn't he? What was this here? Doku, Barcola, and Johnson are all right wingers, and Poch today indicated Lavia as big part of his plan. So surely we're playing 4-3-3, and we're looking for a right winger. Oh, is Doku 21? Is he? I thought Doku was a bit older than that. Maybe not. Then he's 21. So these guys are all in the same age range. What sort of player do you think we're looking for? Because Elise was obviously a right winger as well. He has played as a number 10, but he's not actually played as a 10 since his Reading days. So are we looking for someone more as an out-and-out winger who can play 10? Or are we looking at an out-and-out number 10 that can play wide as well? What sort of profile do you think we're looking for?
I feel like we're looking for someone that can play both wings. I agree. I feel obviously we don't know until we see it, but I think 4-3-3 until sort of Nkunku's out definitely lines up to
Makes
be.
more sense, doesn't it?
It makes more sense. So yeah, especially we've only got one right wing, it's Madueke. Some people will say Sterling, but if you move Sterling to right, then we've only got Modric for left because I highly doubt he's getting like I know Martin and Chilwell, but they're not wingers, are they?
No.
So we was having this discussion yesterday in our chat. It's like we need another out and out actual winger.
We've only got three. We need
We've
one
got
more.
three wingers. So
Yeah.
Angelo went on loan. Ziyech is gone.
Pulisic's gone.
Pulisic's gone. So we do need another winger, and I think it's no coincidence that we are linked with three right wingers in the last sort of 24 hours or so.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I mean, before we get on to the other two, mate, what are your thoughts? I think we spoke about this in the chat yesterday, but why do you think we're not going for Mohamed Kudus? I know. Obviously, we sort of think AFCON means that obviously Jackson and Kudus would both be gone in January, but I mean, like one AFCON surely can't be a reason not to sign Kudus. I mean, can you think of any other potential reasons why we've not gone in for Kudus? Because it looks like he's about to join West Ham potentially. The fee's not massive. It's less than we're being quoted for the likes of Brennan Johnson, around the same as Barcola, and probably around a little bit less than Doku is being priced at. can you maybe we just don't like his profile? I mean, what are your thoughts? Because I actually think he suits a Pochettino system pretty well.
Who's this for? Sorry.
Kudos.
Oh yeah, honestly, I feel like it's because of Afcon, because I feel like if Nkunku was not injured, we would have signed Kudus, and then when Kudus went to Afcon, then obviously Nkunku would be available, and Jackson and Kudus both go to Afcon. So I feel like Chelsea might think that's too many key players going away for a whole month. Obviously, that's obviously not a reason long term why you don't sign someone, but I definitely think it goes into the squad planning. Because I just otherwise I don't know why we wouldn't sign him. You know, he was on our list. He's cheap. You know, he's cheaper than Doku. He's cheaper than
Yeah.
Johnson. He's versatile. He's played in the Champions League. Like he ticks all the boxes, really. But yeah, we just haven't seemed to move for him for some reason. It'd be very interesting to find out why, if that ever comes out. But I do think the AFCON tournament has something to do with it, because
It must.
otherwise, again, why? You know, Jackson as well. I think Jackson and Kudus being at AFCON would obviously be a blow to us. So, and the fact that Nkunku's not is out, like, yeah, I just feel like it's maybe too many key players Chelsea feel like they'd be missing in that period.
Yeah, no, I hear it. I mean, we obviously it looks like we're not going to go for him, which look, is a shame possibly. But I mean, do you think Doku's better than Elise? I think they're slightly different profiles, but I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, Elise is obviously a bit more appealing in terms of he knows the club, having been at Cobham, and he's got that Premier League experience. I mean, do you think Doku's better than Elise?
Um, I don't know. They're different players, really. I mean,
They are in it. Yeah.
Elise is like 10 times better creatively. Doku's faster, better
Yeah,
dribbler.
Doku is rapid.
Yeah, I would say Elise is the better passer as well. But yeah, different players. I don't think you can say one's better than the other. I think maybe just judged by attributes. But
Yeah,
I think
it's
Elise would have been more needed for our squad though, in terms of like
yeah.
creativity. But again,
I mean,
I want goals and creativity, man. Like I
Elise
want
wasn't goal. Elise wouldn't have given us
no
goals though. Like
no
he's creative. Good. Like I think he was 11 or 12 assists last season in the league, which was in the top four assist makers in the Premier League for a really poor Crystal Palace side that didn't score many goals. So I think he would have really suited us. But obviously, we're looking for goals as well. Elise is not ticking the goals box, or certainly not at this stage of his career. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Just briefly on that before we move on to Barcola and Johnson. I mean, mate, the club maintaining we've done nothing wrong, but yet we've walked away at Palace's threat. So something's not adding up there. Do you think we've done something a little bit underhand? Because what the club are saying is not really adding up to our actions.
for Elise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a dodgy one. I feel like I don't know. I don't want to accuse us of anything, but like when clubs threaten, you know, like going legal action and stuff like that for an approach, usually they've got some sort of evidence or something. But then again, Palace could just be extremely petty and just threaten us for no reason, and like desperate measures. You know, desperate time call for desperate measures, and they obviously don't want to lose Elise. So who knows, man? Who knows? But I watched the signing video. First of all, Elise is an interesting character, man. Like he
Mate,
really is.
he's got an interesting dress sense, doesn't he? I mean, I'm not sure if you wear that sort of stuff
But
to a
like,
contract signing.
deleting his posts on Instagram, and then don't know, just it's a bit of a weird character for me. So yeah, that had put me off in the last sort of 48 hours. Before that, anyway, I was like, like he seems a bit arrogant and just I don't know, like yeah, like I remember that goal he scored against Man U and he just didn't celebrate. Like
It was a banging free kick as well. It
bro,
was
it was amazing.
unreal.
Like, why would you like? He just kind of like it just feels like he has that aura about him, doesn't he? Like he feels like he's that guy, doesn't he? But yeah, I also feel like he'd be happy to accept that contract extension because apparently there's a new
There's a new
minimum release
release
clause
clause
in
in it.
there.
Yeah.
So you know what the sort of guy is like. He'd probably think, oh yeah, look at me. If when I get that 80 million pound clause move, I'm that guy. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know about Elise, but he's a great player. I just I don't know, just character was a bit strange for
Yeah,
me.
it's a little
Growing up.
bit off, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a strange one, isn't it? But yeah, anyway, let's move away from Doku. Let's talk about another young 20-year-old playing in France, and that's obviously Bradley Barcola. Now, what are your thoughts on him? I'll be honest, mate, I really hadn't heard that much about him before yesterday. Obviously, I look at a few comps, and he looks half decent. I mean, I don't know why I brought that up again. Yeah, he looks half decent. But everyone looks decent in comps. Do you know much more about him? A lot of people saying he's very talented, but again, it's young, it's up and coming, he's raw. What are your thoughts here? It's clear that we're going for that sort of a profile, young, raw, up and coming. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Barcola? Do you know much about him?
I don't know loads about him. I watched him a bit in the was it the
He
is
was
it
at the under 21 Euros, wasn't he?
Euros? That's it. Okay, it's been Euros and World Cup this summer. I'm like, which one was which? So yeah, but the Euros, I watched him a bit there. He's very exciting talent. Left wing and right wing, from what I know. Um, doesn't doesn't look insanely quick, but then I saw a stat where he like clocked like the highest sprint speed in Ligue 1 last season. So he obviously is quick. It looks like he has really good sort of playmaking abilities. Like he got quite a lot of assists for them last season, so could be an interesting one. But I don't
It's
know.
40,
He's not.
it's 42 million pounds they're
It's just
quoting.
not. It's not really moving me, man. Like I'm not really excited. Like I'm not really thinking this is what we need right now. Like I feel like we need someone more proven. That's why the Kudus stuff was so good because even though he played in Eredivisie, we see him in the
He was
World Cup, we
proven
see
though.
him in Champions League. He
Yeah.
scored against Liverpool Champions League. Like he's a big player for them. So yeah, I just feel like all these other guys are just like what ifs, what could be's, and I get that's maybe the sense of like people will say that for Lavia, but it's not really because
No.
we've seen Lavia play amazing against Arsenal at the Emirates, play
Mate,
amazing against Liverpool at Anfield. Like
he
it's
dominated us at
yeah,
Stamford
yeah,
Bridge as
played
well.
amazing
Yeah,
against us twice. Once when
yeah,
he scored, and the second time, when we that embarrassing 1-0 defeat
mate.
at
He just
home.
ran. He ran the midfield.
Exactly. So even though we're signing young players in certain areas, it's like they're still more proven. Like Gusto, right?
Yeah,
Ligue 1, obviously he'd been touted for a while by big clubs.
mate.
So
League like people
yeah,
like sort of laugh at the French league. It's one, it's got a lot better, and two, the success rate from France to the Premier League is massive. Like,
100%. The
like
front the French league's fantastic.
it's a really really good place to go shopping for
Mhm.
players, and it's no surprise that we're looking at a lot of two wide players that are there. But I mean, yeah, like yourself, mate. I really don't know an awful lot about Barcola. I don't know whether it's right or not. I agree with you. I do feel, look, at least with Mudryk, there was like you'd seen what he'd done in the Champions League. With this Barcola, he's a Lyon Academy graduate, and he was about, do you know what's mad? He was about to go on loan to the Swiss league, and then he didn't. And then over the second half of last season, he broke into the first team, and he's kind of become a bit of a mainstay there. But it would still be a gamble, and for 42 million quid on a 20-year-old, it's a lot of money to spend. I mean, what just quickly, because a lot of people in the chat are asking about Cherky. The Cherky stuff is kind of dead now, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems so, especially after, if we're targeting sort of Barcola from Lyon.
Then why
It
would you
looks
not
like
go for
we're
Cherky?
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. But PSG are also there for Barcola, so I don't know. I feel like maybe the next week we'll get something more concrete. At the moment, there's definitely targets, but nothing seems to be like imminent at the moment. There's been a lot of names floating around.
Yeah, I mean, talking of names floating around, mate. One that came out yesterday, which I don't think anyone was expecting. And no disrespect to the guy, because I think he had a decent season last year. But Brennan Johnson at Forest, 22 years of age, Welsh international. As I said, he had a half decent season at Forest last year. And apparently, Todd Bowley's had like preliminary discussions with the Forest owner about a deal. We tried to include Chalobah in a potential swap deal. He didn't want to play at that level, which is fair enough. What are you saying about this? Do you think this has got any legs in it? Know that Forest need money, and my concern when that news came out that they put in a bid for Yusuf Fofana, that was me thinking, "Fuck, is that them spending the Brennan Johnson money?"
I thought the same, but then I remembered Forest signed about 30 players last season and spent a lot of money, so I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, again, Johnson, quick winger, exciting in some aspects. Not really, doesn't really move the needle for me though. Can't finish as well. I mean, he had a 1-on-1 against Arsenal last week and
Yeah, that
fucked it
wasn't
up.
great.
So
when that level of finishing probably fits in nicely with our level of finishing as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
think
mean it's do you know what, like if he's going to cost 50 million pounds, right,
it's
which is
just ridiculous, isn't it?
seemingly what it's going to be, we're going to try and involve some players. Maybe we try and get Callum Hudson-Odoi in there or something. I know Forest were interested in him before, and that would almost be like not a direct replacement. It wouldn't be like a swap deal, but at least they'd get a replacement for Johnson, like without having to go and buy one. But like I swear, if we're going to spend 50 million quid on a wide player, then we can definitely do a lot better than Brennan Johnson. For not like
Yeah.
in the most respectful way possible, we can definitely do a lot better than him. So I don't really understand where those links have come from. But I mean, mate, do you think this is someone that we could like genuinely be looking at, like in terms of like this could seriously happen? It's
Yeah,
if
I think so. I don't see why not. I think it definitely fits in with, the sort of players that Chelsea are going for. But whether or not it'll end up being him, I don't think so personally. But definitely, credible reporters have suggested we've held at least preliminary talks. But I feel like because we tried to put Chalobah in there, probably means we don't value him at
Oh
the
yeah, we're not
level
going to pay
Forest
the
do.
50. No, we're not
So
going to pay 50.
so that would be a good thing. Probably
I mean,
means it's less likely to happen.
yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's only been one bid for him this summer, and Brentford bid 35 mil, and there's been no other bids for him. You know, obviously Spurs were interested, West Ham have been interested as well, Brentford, us. Like he's obviously a half decent player, but being decent for Forest and making the step up to be decent for Chelsea is like two completely different things. So it's going to be really tricky to know whether whether he's going to be good enough or not. But I mean, obviously we've got Doku potentially, Barcola, and Johnson. Do you think we'll be linked with any others? Kudos seemingly is not going to happen. He's on the verge of joining West Ham. Do you think it will be one of these three then, or maybe even two?
Um, I'm gonna say no. I still feel like there's another name. I feel like there'll be a different name coming out. I feel like the thing is with if it's going to be any one of these three, I feel like it'll be the Leon guy, Barcola, because I think cheapest of the three. I don't see us paying Forest money. I don't see us paying what Ren want. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
yeah, I still think there's more names to come out. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. But do you think it's either one winger, like one winger and one striker, or do you think it'll be like two, or it'll be two kind of attacking midfield type players? Because again, Poch in a press conference today, quite interestingly, saying that talking about not wanting to block Broja's development, which means potentially that he's keen on seeing what Broja can do. Is saying we're working to see all the options that we can manage on the market to see the potentials in reality. In the same time, we cannot forget Broja. We really believe in him. He can be a really important striker for Chelsea. So do you think that's sort of saying if the right option comes along, we may well go for it, but if not, we're more than happy with Broja? I mean, how would you see that?
I mean, it's interesting. I could see us getting a winger and a goalkeeper. I could see
Yeah.
us getting a striker and a winger, and a goalkeeper. So yeah, I feel like it'd be one of those two formulas. I know he's saying this about Broja, but I don't fully believe he's going to stay. I feel like he might go out on loan, or if we get
Well,
an
he's
offer,
got well, he's got
Chelsea will
interest.
sell.
He's got interest, and he obviously West Ham are
Yeah,
interested. There's interest from Italy, from AC Milan and Roma.
Roma. Yeah, so there's
Um,
there's options there.
but again,
Um,
like if we loaned him out though, without we'd for Broja to leave, we'd have to bring someone else in before.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Like, so I mean,
If you
uh,
see if you see Broja develop like in the news, then definitely he's going to leave.
yeah, and you would like to think it surely means that we've got someone else lined up, like that. That's kind of what you would presume. But I mean, as we know, the striker market's not the best at all. Where do you see it? Like, do you see us bringing another one in? Because to go with just Nicholas Jackson and a returning Broja from ACL, who we don't really know how good he's going to be, like, I still think that's a massive gamble, and I still think we're pretty short on goals.
Yeah, I agree. I think Chelsea are in a difficult spot because if they sign, say Broja stays and they still sign a striker, then it can't really be someone that blocks either Broja or Jackson. But at the same time, what I would like is like if Broja leaves, I would like someone like you know a signing like how we made Giroud, like someone that
You mean
can come in,
almost like a veteran striker?
yeah, doesn't have to start, won't cry if he doesn't start, but it's got a good goal record. I know a lot of people, and myself included, mentioned Taremi. I've never actually watched him that much, but he's
But he
got a
gets
lot of
he gets
goals.
a few goals for Porto, yeah, and
He's
his
got a lot
Champions
of goals
League
for Porto,
experience.
a lot of goals for Porto. So he would be one I'd be interested in because he's available going for quite cheap as well. But at the same time, I don't see Chelsea. Chelsea have not given me or shown me any signs that they're willing to do this anymore. Go for these sort of older players. So yeah, we may bring in someone younger and have that like competitiveness up top, but
Oh, man,
like I would just love someone that can allow Jackson to be the starter because I feel like he deserves it, man. Like the
he
last
does,
game,
mate. He's done really well. Like pre-season was amazing
yeah,
against Liverpool. He looks a real handful. He's done a lot better than any of us expected him to do. He needs to obviously he's still raw. He needs to develop. He needs to show that he's got that ruthless eye for goal, which can definitely come. So yeah, I'm really pleased with him. But again, as we've been saying, with Nkunku out the side now, I do worry where the goals are going to come from because Jackson, we don't know how many he's going to get. Sterling, we don't know either. We don't know how prolific Madueke is going to be. We're not sure how many goals Mudrik's going to chip in with. Is Enzo going to get a chip in with a few? Like, there's so many unknown quantities in terms of goals, and we were 30 to 40 goals short last season. And at this point in time, I still don't see where those 30 to 40 goals are being made up. And, for all the positivity at Chelsea right now, and rightfully so, for me, there is still that concern. I don't know where the goals are coming from. And that is a problem. I mean, do you share the same concerns? Do you think we still lack goals quite a lot?
yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, mate. I do. I think our midfield's fantastic. I think our defense is fantastic. But the question marks is over our forwards. How many explosions will we get from Mudryk, from Madueke? Like you've said, it's hard to call. I would just like some more like. I can feel like this is a big season as well with one game a week. I'd like some more like. Obviously, you can't get any knowns as such in the market, but like at least something towards someone more known, someone more like we know what we're gonna get from them. You know what I mean? Like someone more proven and yeah, just to have that like option, if anything, like you can start, the young guys going forward. Like I think Madueke, Mudryk, and Jackson would be such an exciting front three. But
Mate, it would be great.
to have that option off the bench where you don't have to then bring, you know, um, another young guy on. Like that's why Giroud was so good for us, bro. 'Cause he got so many goals off the bench. Like
Mate, he
he was
scored a
struggling in
lot
a
of
game,
goals.
he'd get a goal or whatever. He'd set someone up. Like we need these sorts of players as well around the squad, and we don't have them in the
No,
forward areas.
no, we don't. And it seems right now, look, Kudos is not coming, guys. I know there's a lot of people are raving about him in the chat, but Kudos is not coming, people. He's on the verge of joining West Ham. And if Chelsea wanted Kudos, it was an easy deal to go and do, and we would have done it. So Kudos is clearly not coming, which is a shame. I think it obviously would have worked out well. But yeah, look, it's going to rely on, like, as you say, I mean, Nicholas Jackson to try and get. I've always maintained if Jackson scores 10 league goals this season, that's a great season. And I know that seems like a low bar for a Chelsea striker, but considering our top scorers in all comps last season was 9 goals, I think it's a fair starting point. So if Jackson can get 10, but it's going to require, on average, for the guys playing behind him, your Mudryks, your Maduekes, your Sterlings, etc., to chip in with roughly 10 goals each as well to make that deficit up. And I love Mudryk, huge fan of his, but right now I'm not sure I see Mudryk scoring 10 goals this season. I don't know if I see Madueke scoring 10 goals this season. But then the problem is also, if you go into the market, what options are there out there, experienced options that are available and will come in and get you the sort of goals that we need? I can't really think of any.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. It is difficult. That's what the club needs to do. They need to go out and find someone.
Yeah, I don't know who we can find. I mean, do you think the Vlahovic deal is fully dead now, absolutely gone? Do you think we could get to a situation where we might feel a little bit desperate per se, and we'll go back for it? or do you just think that's fully done now?
No, I wouldn't say it's fully done. I do think there's a possibility late on in the window, if we still haven't got rid of Lukaku as well, that we could revisit that and make the deficit up between us and Juve, because there was a gap in price tag. We offered 21 mil, they wanted 35, so a bit of a difference there. So yeah, I don't think that's completely dead, but again, Vlahovic, like he would come in, Jackson would then just be relegated to the bench. Like, there's no way Vlahovic would sit on the bench. He's got too much of a name for that to
Yeah,
happen. So it's
it's
so difficult because there's not, like, unless you go for that like Giroud type signing, you're gonna get someone that is either gonna start or may not be ready. And it's as simple as that. So Chelsea, it's gonna be interesting. I'm really intrigued to see what sort of decisions they make.
Yeah, no, mate, I am as well, and it's and these decisions are going to be really important as well. There's no two; they're going to be really important, these decisions, because like it could be a different. I don't want to be as dramatic as saying it could be the difference between us finishing in the Champions League places and us not. But
I think it could. I don't think that's
ultimately,
dramatic at all.
ultimately, it really could. I mean, I was of the
Yeah.
opinion that, if we didn't get Caicedo, it would probably cost us Champions League football. But I actually think the goals as well. If we don't find a way of scoring these goals, or we don't get someone in that can score the goals, then that equally is going to cost us. Like, it's all very well being solid in midfield like we are now and being solid at the back like we are, but if we can't do anything going forward, which, look, we've got exciting players, 100% we've got exciting players, but they're all kind of unproven quantities at this point in time. We know they're good. We know they can produce moments, but we don't know how good they're going to go on and become. And none of them are necessarily players that you would call, say, prolific goal scorers, or you can hang your hat on to get sort of a decent chunk of goals. So we're asking a lot of these wide players to chip in with a decent amount of goals, which so far it doesn't look like they can do that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how we do act in the market and what we do get up to. But I mean, if we just quickly move away onto someone who has come in, Romeo Lavia has signed today. The announcement was all done today, which is great to see. And he's obviously had some nice things to say about the club. He's happy to be here, and all that stuff. He's going to continue to wear the number 45. By the way, Mike, how much better has the club media got since these guys took over? Like, in terms of announcements and stuff, and just in terms of the media in general, it's so much better. I mean, like, getting Eden Hazard on the phone as well was a great touch. I mean, have you noticed a big improvement in that? Because, like, beforehand, the announcements were just dead, and now there's like a real buzz and excitement about it.
Yeah, apart from the song choices they're using, I think they let, Diego Moreira choose the playlist. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, to be honest, I look at this photo as well, and the thing I thought he was going to say was like, how much better does the font and
Oh, mate, the
the
font,
gold the
mate,
gold looks so good,
the gold font for the cup competitions is unreal.
bro. We need the gold in the Premier League. That is beautiful, honestly. I love that.
It's so good. It is so good. But I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I love that.
what were your thoughts on the little Hazard video? I know, like, people are going mad for it,
That's quality. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
but
they know how to tug at heartstrings.
mate, do you know what's mad? Right, the amount of people after that are saying, "Oh, let's go and sign Eden on a 1 year deal," like, without even thinking about it properly.
That's
But
quality.
mate,
Yeah.
like, he obviously played quite a big part in this still, didn't he? In terms of convincing Lavia to come.
I mean, I don't know personally. I didn't hear anything about it, but I wouldn't be surprised. They definitely probably spoke behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, how do you see Lavia doing? Because I don't think I've spoken to you about Lavia really. Obviously, there's a lot of potential there, and with Nkunku out, he's obviously not going to start straight away, I wouldn't have thought. But if we do switch to a 4-3-3, which could make sense, he'll probably get quite a few minutes playing in that number 6 at the base of the midfield with Enzo and Caicedo ahead of him. I mean, how excited are you to see Lavia in action?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think he'll be really good. Again, I think he fits into our project. I think he's already performed in some big away games as well, which is good for Southampton. Performed against us, as we've been saying. So yeah, I'm excited to see him play. I think he can play as a number 6 very well. He can play as a number 8. Very good on the ball. Again, you saw his interview saying, how I like to protect the back line. I like a tackle, and these are all things we've been missing. So to have him and Caicedo protect the back line and allow the other forwards to flourish and go forward and have that sort of free roll, I think will be so beneficial to us. I really do. And once they get chemistry together, which hopefully is fast based off, what we've seen on the Poch so far, players seem to be clicking very fast. Unlike, when we had Graham Potter, I feel like could be a huge signing for us. And what's to say he can be worth £100 million in 2 years, like Caicedo is.
Exactly. I mean, it's exactly it. I mean, look, there's no two ways that he certainly could be. I mean, I just wanted to bring a quick update up on Reece James. I don't know if you've seen it or not. Yeah, that supposedly, from his understanding, expected that James will be out for just over a month. Well, all right, cool, just over a month. Let's call it 5 weeks then. That's no football till after the international break then. So it's a blow, but it's a lot better than potentially it could have been if we're being honest with ourselves here. It's a lot better than it could have been. Thoughts on that, mate? I mean, obviously not good, but considering how Reece's injuries have been previously, I suppose it's kind of a best case scenario.
Yeah, so I think he misses West Ham, Luton, Wimbledon, Forest. Forest. So that would be what, 1, 2,
and maybe Bournemouth as well.
Maybe Bournemouth.
He'd be back. He could be back for Bournemouth after the international break.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he wasn't going to. He wouldn't. I doubt he would have played against Wimbledon in the cup anyway.
No.
So I suppose he's really missing 4 Premier League games. And if you look at Forest at home and Luton at home, we should be able to win those without Reece James. So it's. I mean, the West Ham game this weekend is a slight problem, of course, but yeah, I don't. It's not a total disaster, and that is reasonably good news on that front. Let's just get back to Lavia, mate. Because it's certainly, mate. I'm really excited for it. I think it's a great signing. Very much mate. Very much. Do you think he sits at the base in the number 6? Do you think he's better in a 4-3-3? Do you think he can be equally as good in a pivot system as well?
Yeah, I do. I think the thing is with Lavia is like, I wasn't too confident on him in a pivot next to Enzo for the whole season. Like, I feel like that would have been a bit too much. But the fact we've got him and Caicedo is just like, it's just dream world. Honestly, it's just dream world.
The fact that we've gone right in 6 months from a fading Kante, Jorginho, and Kovacic to Lavia, Enzo, and Caicedo, it's an absolute joke. It's like going from homeless to living in a mansion.
We've definitely rebuilt the midfield very well.
Mate, it's mad. It is mad. But do you see him as more of a number 6 type of player rather than someone that can do a bit of both, like Caicedo, like Enzo? Do you think he's very much someone that, I know he said that like his job is to kind of shield the back line and whatnot. Can you see him maybe contributing a bit further up the pitch, or that's not really his sort of thing?
Well, he's only scored 1 goal, and that was against us.
Wasn't that an absolute banger against us? It was an absolute screamer.
It was edge of the box, yeah. The game we lost under Tuchel, so I would definitely say no, definitely a DM. But yeah, I mean, we needed DMs that badly, so
mate, we needed DMs, and we've got them. I mean, just briefly, mate, what do you think this means for Andre Santos? Because obviously he's done very well in pre-season. The club clearly really like him, and then he sees that we've gone and spent 60 million quid on someone who is 6 months older than him, the same age. Sure. What do you think he's thinking now? Because do you think this changes whether he stays or goes?
I mean,
we've also still got Gallagher, who Poch. Yeah, I know Gallagher's for sale, but if no offers come in and Gallagher reportedly wants to stay and fight for his place, then Santos could have a problem in terms of getting any minutes this season.
Yeah, and Chukwuemeka, to be fair, and Chukwuemeka, I think.
Yeah.
Any one of these guys could leave or get loaned. I think. Yeah, so I don't know. It's difficult to say at the moment. I'd let it play out, but I would probably say Santos is most likely to go on loan just because, he needs that game time and he's very young. I think Chukwuemeka and Gallagher obviously more experienced. Not that much, but Gallagher is, to be fair, but Chukwuemeka not really. But still, definitely more experienced than Santos. And
mate, you know what's mad, right? Is that 23 years of age, Gallagher's our most experienced midfield player.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad when you think about. But Yeah, I do still feel like Gallagher's going to be sold. But I feel like that bid's going to come in, and we're going to think, lovely bit of profit, buy. so
Mate,
uh,
Gallagher and his man bun. He's
he's been
reborn.
so good, man. Like I can't believe
Mate,
I'm defending Gallagher, but he's been
he's
insane
been
in
really
the
good.
season.
Yeah, he has been really,
He's
mate.
been so good.
He was unreal against Liverpool. That's not even an exaggeration.
I know
He was
he was
unbelievable.
absolutely amazing. I know. I was so scared against Liverpool, but he could have been my man of the match, honestly. Like that
Oh, mate,
tackle he made against Salah.
he could have easily been man of the match.
I tell you what, and just to show the sign the difference, if he was in that situation last season against Salah, that's a red. He's red
He gets
carding
a
him
red.
all
He
day,
gets a
bro.
red. Yeah.
He's red carding him. So like, he's definitely improved. Like I no longer think, oh shit, Gallagher's in the lineup anymore. I think, oh,
Yeah.
okay, like you're probably gonna do all right. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think particularly in a 4-3-3 as well, that suits him a lot better. That definitely suits him a lot better. I mean, just on the system briefly, it was a bit of a surprise, obviously, that we saw a 3-5-2 or a variation of that against not Southampton, sorry, against Liverpool. Mate, do you think we could see that again against West Ham? Do you think that was a one-off, or because we actually looked quite solid in it? I know we're used to playing a back three, but do you think that was very much a one-off, and we'll just revert back to a 4-3-3 or whatever? Or do you think we could see it again?
I hope not. I really hope not. For me personally, I want to see a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, depending if Lavia and Caicedo are ready to start. I just hope one of them starts tomorrow. Like if they're both on the bench, I'm gonna be a little bit less hyped.
Caicedo should start though, because he's had a basically
Yeah,
he would have had a week's training, and Lavia understands a
yeah,
little bit different. Caicedo, I'd imagine it would be Enzo, Caicedo, and Gallagher starting.
yeah. Wouldn't be bad to be fair. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we'll see the formation we saw last game. I would hope not. I would hope. I really want Modric to get a start, man. If Modric's on the
Mate,
bench
Mudryk needs to start.
against West
Mudryk
Ham,
has to start. It's as simple as that. Mudryk
it's
has to start.
it's gonna be frustrating because he needs to build confidence, and we know that the talent's there. The London Stadium's a bit of a wider pitch. Could see
Well,
him
mate,
do really
he
well.
started there last season. He actually did really well.
Yeah, I could see him doing well on Sunday.
Yeah, I could certainly see it as well. But Lavia is the exciting one. But just very briefly, mate, last one before we round out. This, I mean, do you think we could go for? Do you think Ivan Toney in January is now coming into play a lot more? Because the way I'm seeing it right now, I don't think we get another striker. We'd make do until January, and then we try and bring Ivan Toney in. I mean, I honestly think if the ban hadn't have happened, I think Ivan Toney would already be a Chelsea player. But
Let's see how well Jackson does. If Jackson's scoring loads of goals, I don't think we're going to sign Tony because Tony would then take his spot, and like Jackson, there's no need to take Jackson's spot if he's being the goal scorer for us. Like if he's a goal scorer, then keep the goal scorer starting. Like Tony would not be on the bench. So yeah,
yeah,
I would
I
say
mean,
give it until January and see what happens if we
mate, I,
don't get
mate,
one.
I'm not against a Tony signing. I think I think it makes sense. I think he's a top striker. Could be a 20. We know he's a 20 goals a season Premier League striker. He's proven it. And look, I think it can be healthy competition. I think Jackson's got to be aware, and he is aware that at Chelsea, you're always going to be linked with signing top centre forwards, and there's always going to be competition for your place. So I think it could bring out more from him as well, potentially. But I mean, let's wait and see. I mean, just last thing in the chat here. We've got something. If you're Chelsea and someone comes in with £40 million for Gallagher, do you take it?
Yes, yeah, I
Yeah.
like Gallagher, but yeah, 100% for me.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if West Ham come back in for him. I mean, obviously, they've brought in Edson Alvarez. They're probably going to bring in Kudos as well. If they got Gallagher also, that's a
They signed
pretty good.
Ward-Prowse.
Oh,
Did they sign
They
Ward-Prowse?
signed Ward-Prowse as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a bad re-spending of the Declan Rice money, to be perfectly honest. That's pretty decent, mate. That is pretty decent. But yeah, mate, to round out, obviously I probably won't speak to you before the game, or well, not on here anyway. What are your predictions for Sunday at the London Stadium? It's not, mate, it's not a ground we've got a good record at. Because we do struggle there.
Yeah, I want to see our lineup as well, but I feel like we're gonna win. I think 2-1. I don't think West Ham are anywhere near as good without Declan Rice. So Yeah, I feel like 2-1. I think they drew to Bournemouth on
They
the
drew one
opening
all to
day. So
Bournemouth. Yeah, I mean Bowen
yeah,
always scores against us as well, which is quite
yeah,
annoying.
that fucking the ground. You are right. We don't usually do great there, but you know what? I'll say 2-1. I either think it's going to be a close game or we're going to absolutely trounce them and beat them like 4-0. So
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
I don't think we'll lose, but I do agree with you on that one. But
let's just
yeah,
get a win on the board. It'd be great if
just
we get a win.
just get a win on the board. That
Yeah.
that 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 is the most important thing. But yeah, guys, we're going to end this one here. I've got to jump on another show now. But Pies, thanks so much for your time, bro. Massively appreciate it. If the people want to check out more of what you do for whatever reason, don't know what you do, then let them know where the best place to go is.
Yeah, my Twitter at CFC Pys, Max London's First as well on Twitter, and then londonsfirst.com. We have an article out right now on how Caicedo and Lavia basically fit with Enzo Fernandez. Really good article by Connor. So if anyone wants to go and read that, it's on there.
Yep, guys, make sure you go and check all that stuff out. It's linked in the chat. It's linked in the description, so make sure you check all that stuff out. Guys, I'll be back tomorrow morning with a West Ham opposition preview. So make sure you stay tuned for that live at 11 a.m. And then we'll be back Saturday night as well with the daily transfer update. Also, so make sure you stay tuned for those two things coming on the channel tomorrow. Make sure you smash the likes on the way out. Please, please, please continue to smash the subscribe button as well. Let's try and get as close to 5.9k as possible. So on the way out, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button as well, people. And I'll catch you again tomorrow. Take care, up the Chelsea, and peace out, people.